Hello and welcome to this Tales from the Hut Hangar Aviation Rarities episode about the one-off late 1940s Polish transporter, the LWD Miś. And this is another extremely rare aircraft and very little has been published about it. The design of the LWD Miś, or translated means Aviation Experimental Workshops Bear, was started in 1947. The main engineered designer was Tadeusz. This military transport with a crew of two was going to be used for paratroopers, cargo, medevac, a flying laboratory, or transporting 8 passengers. It was also going to be offered to the civil market as an airliner or cargo aircraft, and it was highlighted it offered excellent crew visibility, rough field operations, and the low fuselage made it easier to unload and load. The aircraft was powered by the then available German Argus AS-10C engines with a power of 177 kilowatt or 240 horsepower. Some reserves of these engines originate from war supplies that remained in Poland. The aircraft's design would be basic and adapted to the production capabilities of their then current aviation industry. The construction of the prototype in Lotz started in 1948 and was finished in November 1949. The Miś was built of various parts at various small locations at their workshops. It was impossible to assemble the entire aircraft on site, so the parts were then taken to a nearby factory airport. And its construction, and this is from the Planes in Polish aviation website. And the wing was wooden, 2-spar structure, interspar chamber crossed with steel tubes. It was covered with plywood, engines attached to the wings. Fuel tanks in the wings, 2-part slotted differential deflected ailerons, mass balance, with a wooden skeleton. Balancing flaps on the ailerons, hydraulic driven slotted flaps between the ailerons and fuselage, of the same construction as the ailerons. Fuselage of mixed construction, front and middle parts of the truss structure welded from steel tubes. Front part covered with sheet metal, middle part covered with fabric or wooden profiling strips. The rear of the fuselage is semi-monocoque wooden with a plywood on ribs and numerous stringers. The rear part of the fuselage is connected by the middle part by 4 fittings. The pilot's cabin is covered, and at the front of the fuselage pilot's seats are next to each other. Endorsed the passenger cabin on both sides of the fuselage. Access to the pilot's cabin through a passenger cabin used the entrance opening in the separating wall. It had a cantilever tailplane of wooden construction, 2 spar stabilisers covered with plywood, rudders covered with fabric, trimming tabs on the rudder and the left half of the elevator. It had tripod landing gear with a fixed front wheel. Each half of the main landing gear was supported on the wing in place of the engine nacelle by a leg with a shock absorber and supported on the bottom of the fuselage by 2 legs. Low pressure wheels are hydraulic brakes, 2-wheel front landing gear suspended on the wishbone with an all-air shock absorber covered from the front with sheet metal, and at the end of the fuselage a bumper in the form of a steel leaf spring. And once it was fully assembled, the Miś aircraft made its first flight on November the 24th, 1949, and during the flight it turned out the prototype was difficult to control and had bad stability, and the cause was overcompensated ailerons and rudders. And in December 1949 and March 1950 further tests were completed, but they were unsatisfactory. So the flights were suspended and the aircraft underwent various modifications. Test flights were then resumed on May the 4th, 1950. And at the end of 1950, LWD was gradually liquidated, and the Communication Equipment Factory, WSK No. 6, was established in its place. Flight tests with the Miś were still being conducted up to the spring of 1951, and the aircraft at this point was now reported to have improved flight characteristics. So in April 1951, the aircraft was transferred to the state tests at the Main Aviation Institute. They published some notes about the aircraft. Flying it was good, landing was easy, and ground handling was good. The negative features were the engine noise inside was bad for all because of the lack of sound installation. The most serious negative feature was that old chestnut insufficient engine power, and that caused poor performance. Tests at the Main Aviation Institute were conducted until September the 9th, 1951. So after tests at the Main Aviation Institute, the prototype was then transferred, or dumped on, the Special Regiment Transport Aviation Unit. Due to the poor engine performance, and because of this no orders were forthcoming, the prototype was transferred, back again, to the Main Aviation Institute. At that time, interest in the Miś dropped off, even with a proposal to install more powerful Argus engines, and they even looked at using the Miś as an unmanned aircraft in areas of significant radioactivity, a big drone, but that was also abandoned. In August 1952, the aircraft was damaged, all interest was lost and it was stuck back in the hangar, but shortly after the aircraft was taken over by the military again. It was finally shot to death on a target range and then put to rest and cremated during fire brigade exercises. I hope you enjoyed that and thanks for watching. Please leave a comment, like, share or subscribe for notifications when new episodes are uploaded. And TTFN.